The Whispering Woods. The village of Hollowstone was nestled deep in the shadows of the mountains, surrounded by dense, dark woods that no one dared to enter after sundown. The locals whispered about the woods, about the things that lived there, hidden in the blackness, waiting. But Ethan didn't believe in ghost stories. He was new to the village, a city boy by heart, and the idea of some haunted woods seemed absurd. When he heard the villagers talking about people disappearing, hearing strange voices, and seeing lights that moved on their own, he just scoffed. To him, it was a challenge, a dare he couldn't resist. One moonless night, determined to prove them wrong, Ethan decided to enter the Whispering Woods. He carried nothing but a flashlight, his breath visible in the cold autumn air. As he walked deeper into the forest, the sounds of the village quickly faded, replaced by an eerie, oppressive silence. Even the wind seemed to avoid this place. The trees stood tall, their gnarled branches twisting into unnatural shapes above, blotting out the sky. His footsteps crunched on dead leaves, the sound unnervingly loud. After what felt like hours, he stopped. The air was heavier now, almost suffocating, and a strange scent, damp, earthy, and metallic, filled his lungs. He turned off his flashlight, listening for any movement. That's when he heard it, a faint whisper. At first, Ethan thought it was the wind, but then he realized it was too soft, too deliberate, like someone breathing in his ear. His heart raced as the whispers grew louder, seeming to come from every direction. They were words, but not in any language he recognized, distorted, unnatural, as though the very air was speaking. He flicked his flashlight back on and scanned the woods. There was nothing. But the whispers didn't stop. They were circling him now, like invisible mouths moving just beyond his vision. Suddenly, his flashlight flickered and died. He cursed, tapping it uselessly when he heard something else. Footsteps, slow, dragging footsteps coming from behind him. Ethan froze, cold sweat dripping down his back. Turning slowly, he saw something move in the shadows, just beyond the trees. His breath hitched. It was a figure. No figures, dozens of them. Pale, gaunt, their faces twisted with hollow eyes, mouths hanging open as if they had been screaming for centuries. Ethan stumbled backward, his legs shaking uncontrollably. But the figures didn't move toward him. Instead, they seemed to glide silently, watching him. Their mouths moved, but it wasn't screaming. It was whispering. "Help us," one voice rasped, barely audible. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. He turned to run, but was stopped in his tracks by something far worse. Ahead of him, standing in the path, was a single figure. It wasn't like the others. It was tall, impossibly tall, with limbs stretched too long, its face hidden in the shadows of a hood. Its body bent unnaturally, as if it were nothing more than a collection of bones barely held together by skin. Then it spoke. But the voice didn't come from its mouth. It came from everywhere, inside Ethan's head, in the trees, in the ground beneath him. "You've come to join us." Suddenly, Ethan's legs stopped working. He couldn't move, as if the air around him had solidified, trapping him. The whispers turned into a cacophony, louder and louder, until they filled his mind, drowning out every thought except one. "You will never leave." The tall figure reached out one bony hand, and as it did, Ethan felt his skin grow cold. He tried to scream, but no sound came. His vision blurred, the edges darkening, and in those last moments he realized the horrible truth. The villagers hadn't been wrong. They hadn't exaggerated the terror of the woods. The voices he had heard weren't warnings. They were welcoming him. Ethan was never leaving the Whispering Woods. In the morning, the villagers found Ethan's flashlight lying at the edge of the forest. But Ethan was never seen again. And that night, if you stood just at the edge of the woods, you could hear a new voice among the whispers.